foundation for countries around the world to fund and finance things that are vital to the lives of their citizens. We have now nearly 140 countries, representing more than 90% of global GDP, that have already agreed to this effort. So it is time to seize the moment and get it done. We aligned on the need to spark a race to the top for quality infrastructure projects around the world, to support more projects that are climate resilient, environmentally sustainable, free from corruption, and truly benefit the communities where they're built. Too often what we've seen is infrastructure projects, especially in developing economies, that simply aren't done that way. They're built with imported labor, they steamroll local communities, they leave countries in debt. Through projects like the Blue Dot Network, which is an initiative of the United States, Japan, and Australia, in collaboration with the OECD and Build Back Better World, we will champion a different approach. On a central issue of the future economy, we share a belief that the OECD should be a key international forum to develop the rules of the road that will guide the use of emerging technologies like AI, cybersecurity, and help strengthen the supply chain security that is so vital to all of our countries. We also discussed strategies for how to bridge the gender digital divide to ensure that women and girls can fully participate in the digital economy. We simply will not achieve a strong, equitable, resilient global economy if women and girls aren't fully included. The same is true for LGBTI persons, for racial and ethnic minorities, anyone else excluded from full participation in the global economy. And the OECD is doing vital work across all of those areas. We in the OECD are united by a commitment to, as I said, the shared values that have made possible all of our progress over the last 60 years: democracy, the rule of law, human rights, including gender equality, and open, inclusive, and transparent market economies. That's what sets the OECD apart. And it's especially important today, at a time when these principles are challenged by authoritarian governments that argue that their model is better at meeting people's basic needs. Now more than ever, we must prove that our approach can make life better for our people and for people all over the world. So we just approved the OECD's 60th anniversary vision statement. It reaffirms our commitment to those ideals and, critically, to seeing them put into practice, because ultimately that's what this is all about. It's taking the ideals that bring us together and putting them into practice. I'm confident that they will continue to guide us for the next 60 years and beyond. So, Mathias, again, thank you. It's been great to be here with you, but I'm especially grateful for your leadership, not just these past few days, but ever since you've been on the job, with a very, very important agenda going forward. And thanks to all the member states of the OECD for such a productive and, I believe, principled ministerial conference. Thanks very much.
We'll take a first question from AFP, from Ali.
Hello, Mr. Secretary. You met with Mr. Macron and Mr. Le Drian since you came here. On European defense and the situation in Sahel, to what extent is the US ready to support France and the EU? And should we expect announcements by the end of the month? Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Following the conversation between President Biden and President Macron a few weeks ago, we were directed to take what is one of the most important relationships in the world and make it even better, make it even stronger, deepen our consultations, deepen our cooperation, deepen our coordination. And that's exactly what we're doing. There's a lot of work that goes into this, and we've had teams meet in a variety of ways in the last days, and indeed in the last weeks. That's going to continue. And as you noted, there are a number of areas where the two presidents agreed we should focus our efforts. One is on the work that we're already doing in the Sahel, and to look for ways, practical ways, to deepen that cooperation. Another is in Euro-Atlantic security. Again, working as we have for so many years now, not only within NATO as allies, but also looking at ways to enhance and increase European capacity, something that the United States supports, and as well in the Indo-Pacific, where the EU has put out an important strategy. France played a critical role in developing that strategy. We're about to do the same in the coming months, and we're in intensive consultations to make sure that our strategies are linked up and joined together, because it is vitally important to the United States that Europe in general, France in particular, be a strong and engaged partner in the Indo-Pacific. So we had very good conversations this week in all three of those areas, as well as many others where France and the United States work very closely together. This is ongoing work. It'll be continued in the days ahead, including by the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, who will be here in a couple of days. And then we fully expect that President Macron, President Biden will be speaking in the weeks ahead, and also meeting to continue this work.
Next question is from Kylie Atwood of CNN.
Good afternoon. Secretary Blinken, two questions for you. First, do you believe that after this visit, France and their trust in the United States has been restored? And given the strategic security dialogue with Mexico on Friday, I wanted to ask how you would assess the U.S. Mexico relationship right now. And in the meetings on Friday, will you raise one issue that is the Mexican government recently failing to approve visas for DEA agents who have been assigned to Mexico over the last year? Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Let me start with the second question first. So we are indeed heading to Mexico in a couple of days. We will be convening for the first time this high-level security dialogue and talking about a broad range of common security issues and challenges. And that follows on the economic dialogue that brought us together just a few weeks ago in Washington. I've got to say, if the security dialogue matches in quality what we experienced with the economic dialogue, that would be, and I fully expect it will, very, very positive and also productive, because I have to say we had one of the best exchanges I remember, at least in my experience, with our Mexican colleagues just a couple of weeks ago. And I think that's very much the spirit in which we're approaching the security dialogue in a couple of days. We have the Attorney General taking part. We have the Secretary for Homeland Security taking part of this. We will be spending time with President López Obrador, as well as with our counterparts, and we've got a very broad-ranging agenda. And I think it's evidence of the fact that the relationship, while some issues like migration understandably get a lot of headlines, is incredibly broad and deep-rooted. And so I think we'll be covering a lot of ground. I don't want to spoil the fun, so we'll have an opportunity to talk in more detail about that going forward. We'll have a chance to talk more about Mexico in Mexico. So come on down. And then with regard to France, as I said, you have to obviously ask our friends here for their views. From my perspective, the conversations we've had just in the last 24 hours were very positive, very productive, and reflect a lot of important work that's in progress, work that was tasked by President Biden and President Macron to, as I say, deepen consultations, deepen cooperation, deepen coordination across a range of issues that make a real difference for citizens of France and citizens of the United States. We're looking at very practical cooperation in a number of areas. I talked about it a moment ago with our colleague, including in the Sahel, including with regard to Euro-Atlantic security, and including in the Indo-Pacific. And I think it's evidence of the seriousness of purpose that we have, that we've had our teams meeting very consistently and regularly on this. My visit is followed by, as I said, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, coming to continue to work on this. And what we're doing, I think, is ultimately teeing up some very practical additional initiatives that the presidents will have an opportunity to discuss in the coming weeks.
Next question from Will Horobin of Bloomberg.
Hello. A question about international tax negotiations. There are 2 days to go until the Inclusive Framework meeting. Are you confident of a deal on Friday that will include all G20 members? And will the US be able to implement such a deal if it requires changes to tax treaties?
Mathias, do you want to have a start at that?
Well, the G20 finance ministers meeting in Venice in July reached a historic agreement on an international tax deal that is designed to make international tax arrangements fairer and work better. There was more detail to be worked through, and those discussions are continuing. As I stand here before you, I'm quietly optimistic that in time for the G20 Leaders Summit towards at the end of October, that we'll be in a position to finalize an agreement. There's more work underway, and we'll continue to engage in those conversations in the same positive and constructive and solutions-focused spirit that has characterized this process so far. We are very, very close. We obviously believe that it's very much in the world's interest to finalize a deal. The combined effects of globalization and digitalization have created distortions and inequities that need to be addressed. And Secretary Blinken went through some of those in his opening remarks. And a lot of work has been done. We're very close. Conversations are continuing. As I stand here today, I'm quietly optimistic that in time for the G20 Leaders Summit, we will be able to finalize an agreement. Of course, the Inclusive Framework meeting on Friday is a key meeting, and we'll give it our best, and we'll see how we go.
And I would simply say that I share the quiet optimism. This is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make the international tax system fair. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity to help countries raise the revenue necessary to actually do things important to bettering the lives of their citizens and to building back better from COVID. And my sense of the conversations in the last couple of days is that a broad array of countries share that view, share that perspective. We still have some work to do, but as the Secretary General said, I think we've made good progress in the last couple of days, and we want to bring this over the finish line.
Great. The final question is Simon Lewis from Reuters.
Hi, thank you. Mr. Secretary, while you've been here, there was a readout from the Russian Foreign Ministry about a call you had with Foreign Minister Lavrov. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what it is you're discussing with the Foreign Minister on the Iran deal, and what are you hoping Russia can do to bring Iran back into that deal? And also on that call, did you discuss the 8 Russians who were expelled from NATO, which is a story that just broke today? And just another separate issue, there's been a significant increase in Chinese activity near Taiwan. And does that give the US cause to change its calculus in any way? And does that contradict the agreement that with China that the President talked about yesterday, which seemed to be a reference to the understanding between the US and China that Taiwan issue should be resolved by peaceful means? Is that something that the US side is going to bring up during the talks in Zurich?
Thank you. Thank you very much. With regard to the call with Foreign Minister Lavrov, yes, we focused on the JCPOA, and the United States and Russia, I think, share an interest in seeing a mutual return to compliance with the JCPOA. Russia has been an important participant in this effort, and we talked about where things stand. We talked about the commitment of the United States to return to compliance, but the necessity of Iran being willing to do the same thing. And I noted, again, to Foreign Minister Lavrov that the runway is getting shorter and shorter on that prospect and on that interest that we share, because, as I've said before, and as we've talked about before, given what Iran is doing with its nuclear program, that is inconsistent with the obligations under the JCPOA and the constraints imposed by the JCPOA, again, spinning more sophisticated centrifuges, enriching uranium to 20% and even 60%, we are getting closer and closer to a point where simply returning to compliance with the JCPOA won't recapture the benefits of the agreement. So we had an opportunity to compare notes on where we stand and where we hope to go. With regard to Taiwan, I have to tell you and reiterate that we are very concerned by the PRC's provocative military activity near Taiwan. As we've said, the activity is destabilizing, it risks miscalculation, and it has the potential to undermine regional peace and stability. So we strongly urge Beijing to cease its military, diplomatic, and economic pressure and coercion directed at Taiwan. We have, the United States has, a commitment to Taiwan that is rock solid and over many years has contributed to the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and within the region. And we will continue to stand with friends, with allies, to advance shared prosperity, shared security, shared values, as well as continue to deepen our ties with a democratic Taiwan.
We have to close the press
Thank you.
conference there, and I thank you all very much for your questions. Thank you.